Welcome to Old Coins News. Today, we are going to explore four rare and historical coins, uncovering their designs, minting history, value, and hidden facts. Coin lovers, get ready for an exciting numismatic journey. Let's begin the video. The 1978 Australian 20-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II belongs to one of the most widely used denominations in modern Australian currency and represents an important era in the development of the country's decimal monetary system. Australia introduced decimal currency in 1966, replacing the old pound shillings pence system. By 1978, the decimal system was well established, and the 20-cent piece had become a major workhorse coin of daily commerce, relied upon by millions of Australians for transportation fares, groceries, snacks, newspapers, school lunches, and vending machines. The 1978 issue is part of the long-running series featuring the iconic platypus reverse design and the early portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, which together symbolize both Australia's natural heritage and its constitutional connection to the British monarchy during the late 20th century. On the obverse, the coin displays a second effigy of Queen Elizabeth II's use on Australian currency, created by Arnold Machin, a well-known British sculptor. This portrait shows the Queen wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, facing right, with her hair styled in soft waves. The design is elegant, refined, and instantly recognizable, and it was used on Australian coins from 1966 until 1984. Around the portrait is a legend Elizabeth II Australian 1978, a simple yet authoritative inscription reflecting Australia's constitutional monarchy structure. During the 1970s, this portrait was especially symbolic. It represented a modernizing Commonwealth, a young and active Queen, and Australia's evolving sense of identity as an independent nation that still maintains ceremonial ties to its British origins. Even today, collectors appreciate the Machin portrait for its classic beauty and clarity, especially when found on high-grade coins with minimal wear. The reverse of the 1978 Australian 20-cent coin features the beloved design created by Stuart Devlin, the official Australian coin designer whose work helped shape the national identity of modern Australian coinage. The design depicts a platypus swimming through stylized water currents, surrounded by lines that convey movement and natural fluidity. The platypus, one of Australia's most unusual and iconic animals, is symbolic of the continent's unique wildlife, evolutionary distinctiveness, and sense of national pride. Its presence on the 20-cent coin has made the design instantly recognizable to generations of Australians. The large numeral 20 is prominently displayed on the upper left, floating above the platypus illustration. Devlin's artistic style blends realism with motion, making the coin visually dynamic even though it is struck on a small metal disc. This reverse design has remained unchanged for decades due to its popularity and national significance. The coin is composed of copper-nickel, 75% copper, 25% nickel, giving it a distinctive silver-gray color and a durability suited to Australia's varied climate, from tropical northern regions to cooler southern states. It weighs 11.30 grams, has a diameter of 28.52 millimeters, and includes a milled, reeded edge. Due to its size and weight, the 20-cent piece is one of the largest circulating coins in Australia, often compared in hand feel to the British 2-shilling or American quarter dollar, though heavier than both. The copper-nickel alloy provides corrosion resistance, allowing the coins to survive decades of circulation with relatively little structural damage, even in humid or coastal regions where coins age more quickly. As a result, many 1978 examples still exist today, though high-grade uncirculated pieces are much less common due to natural wear. In historical context, the year 1978 was part of a period of significant economic and cultural development in Australia. The country was transitioning through changes in immigration, trade policy, cultural identity, and global relationships. Decimal currency played an important role in simplifying financial operations, encouraging commerce, and aligning Australia with international markets. Coins like the 20-cent piece were part of the everyday rhythm of Australian life, circulating through supermarkets, post offices, petrol stations, train stations, and cinemas. The 1970s also represented a time when Australian coin collectors were becoming increasingly active, documenting varieties, die differences, strike qualities, and minting standards from the Royal Australian Mint in Canberra. For these reasons, the 1978 20-cent coin is sometimes studied within numismatic circles for subtle strike characteristics and wear patterns typical of the era. From a collectability perspective, the 1978 20-cent coin is considered a common circulation issue, as millions were minted. However, what collectors value are the finer details, sharp facial features on the Queen's portrait, crisp lines in the platypus design, strong rim integrity, and remaining luster in the fields. Uncirculated examples or coins that were saved from the year of issue within mint sets carry greater interest and value. Some coins may show bag marks, light scratches, or handling abrasions due to the heavy metal composition and the large size of the coin, making pristine examples more desirable. Although not generally rare, the 1978 issue is historically important because it belongs to the early decades of Australia's decimal currency system, now a cornerstone of modern Australian numismatics. Beyond its numismatic attributes, the 1978 Australian 20-cent coin stands as a cultural artifact linking past and present. It carries a portrait of a young queen whose reign shaped much of the modern Commonwealth and the image of a native Australian animal that reflects the land's ecological uniqueness. The coin's widespread circulation made it part of everyday stories: pocket money for students, spare change in petrol stations, coins saved in jars, and transactions in corner shops that no longer exist. Over time, these coins gather memories as much as metalware, becoming symbolic pieces of Australia's social and economic journey. The 1956 2 shillings coin of Queen Elizabeth II, bearing the Latin legend Dei Gratia Regina Fid Def, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith, stands as one of the earliest circulating coins issued after the accession of Elizabeth II to the British throne in 1952. This particular coin belongs to a transitional moment in British history, an era immediately following the end of the long reign of King George VI. In 1956, Britain was still recovering from the economic, political, and social effects of World War II. Rationing had only just ended, and the United Kingdom was navigating its shrinking empire, rising modernity, and complex post-war identity. The 1956 florin, as a 2-shilling coin which additionally known, therefore carries a very special symbolic importance. It reflects the optimism of a new reign with a young queen, the perseverance of old traditions, and a nation redefining itself amid global change. On the obverse, the coin proudly displays the first portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by the accomplished sculptor Mary Gildick, whose portrait was chosen for its youthful, naturalistic, and delicate style. It depicts a queen without a crown, wearing a simple laurel wreath, an artistic nod to the classical world and to the idea of peaceful sovereignty. This was a major design break from the more formal, regal portrait seen in earlier centuries. The choice to show the queen uncrowned was intentional. It symbolized a modern monarchy, a connection with ordinary people, and the sense of a fresh beginning for post-war Britain. Around this portrait appears a Latin inscription Elizabeth II Dei Gratia Regina F laughing smiley colon, meaning Elizabeth II, by the grace of God, Queen, Defender of the Faith. These traditional titles harken back to the monarchy's long religious and constitutional heritage, linking the newly crowned queen with centuries of rulers and rituals. For collectors, the Gildick portrait is cherished for its artistic beauty and historical placement at the dawn of the Second Elizabethan era. The reverse of the 1956 2 shillings coin is a beautifully detailed heraldic design created by Edgar Fuller and Cecil Thomas, representing the unity of the 4 countries of the United Kingdom. The design features 4 crown shields, arranged in a cross-like pattern, each representing the national emblems of England, Scotland, Ireland, and Wales, or more precisely, the heraldic quarters associated with England, 3 lions, Scotland, lion rampant, and Ireland, harp. Although Wales does not appear as a separate heraldic shield on traditional British coinage, its representation was understood through the overall shield design of the monarchy. Between the shields are floral emblems: the rose of England, the thistle of Scotland, the shamrock of Ireland, and a Tudor-like rose pattern that reinforces unity. These symbols surround the central inscription 2 shillings, while the year 1956 sits along the lower rim. The reverse design was intended to represent unity, heritage, and the intertwining of the 4 nations within the United Kingdom, emphasizing national identity during a time of international uncertainty and rebuilding. The 1956 2 shillings coin is composed of cupronickel, 75% copper, 25% nickel. It has a mass of 11.3 grams, a diameter of 28.5 millimeters, and a milled, reeded edge, which helps prevent clipping and adds a tactile security feature. This composition was part of a post-1947 shift away from silver coinage in the UK. Prior to 1947, 2 shilling coins contained silver, but due to post-war economic challenges, rising metal prices, and the need to conserve precious resources, the British government permanently removed silver from circulating coins. Therefore, the 1956 2 shillings is a purely base metal issue, marking a new chapter in British numismatic history. Despite its lack of silver, the coin remains visually attractive due to the bright metal finish of the alloy, especially when preserved in high grade. In terms of circulation history, the 2 shillings coin was a workhorse denomination in the pre-decimal British currency system. It represented 1/10 of a pound sterling. 2 shillings equals 24 old pence, making it extremely useful for everyday transactions. In the 1950s, this coin frequently appeared in the pockets of workers, soldiers, shopkeepers, bus conductors, school children, and housewives across the country. It was widely used for groceries, bus fares, pub purchases, cinema tickets, and payments in traditional weekly household budgeting. As such, most surviving examples show moderate wear, since they traveled extensively through the hands of millions of people. Finding crisp, sharp, uncirculated examples of the 1956 issue is more difficult, especially because handling, humidity, and early cleaning attempts have affected many coins. The historical context surrounding the 1956 2 shillings adds great depth. Britain was in the midst of the Suez Crisis, a major geopolitical turning point that signaled the end of the UK's status as a global superpower. Culturally, the 1950s marked the rise of television, cinema, and early pop culture in the UK. It was also the period when Elizabeth II was establishing her public image, elegant, devoted, steady, and symbolic of continuity during turbulent global change. As the first circulating coinage bearing her portrait, the 1956 2 shillings holds enormous emotional value for British citizens who lived through these times. The coin effectively represents the beginning of what would become one of the longest reigns in world history. For collectors, the 1956 Elizabeth II 2 shillings is a popular early reign coin. It is not rare in circulated condition, but high-grade specimens, especially those showing full luster and flawless fields, are treasured. Collectors look for sharp details in the Queen's portrait, clean lettering, fully defined heraldic shields, and clear boundaries in the floral emblems. Era varieties, such as die cracks, off-center strikes, and rim cuts, can add interest and value. Additionally, because a gilt portrait was replaced in later decades by more mature portraits, these early coins serve as a snapshot of the young Queen's earliest years, making them particularly sentimental for many numismatists. Overall, the 1956 Elizabeth II 2 shillings coin represents a beautiful intersection of history, monarchy, national identity, and economic evolution. It symbolizes the post-war rebuilding of Britain, the birth of a new royal era, and the deep traditions that continue to shape British currency. Whether kept as a historical artifact, part of a Queen Elizabeth II portrait collection, or as a cherished heirloom from the 1950s, the coin remains a powerful reminder of Britain's cultural, political, and numismatic journey through the mid-20th century. The 1965 British Caribbean Territories Eastern Group 25 cents coin, often called the second Queen Portrait Quarter denomination of the Caribbean, represents one of the final issues before the political transformation of the Eastern Caribbean region into more independent monetary systems. This coin belongs to a series minted from the early 1950s up to the late 1960s under the authority of the British Caribbean Currency Board, BCCB, which was created to provide a unified and stable currency for several British colonies in the eastern part of the Caribbean Sea. These included Antigua, Barbados, Dominica, Grenada, St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent. The 1965 issue is particularly significant because it appears during a period of major political transition, when several territories were moving toward independence yet still relied on shared currency. The coin captures a moment in regional monetary history that blended British colonial symbolism with growing Caribbean identity. Because of this, collectors value it for its geopolitical importance, historical background, and unique design elements. On the obverse, the coin features a second portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Arnold Machin. This is a famous portrait showing the young queen wearing the Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara. It became one of the most iconic images of Queen Elizabeth II across the Commonwealth and appeared on many coins globally. The portrait on the 1965 25 cents is praised for its sharpness and elegant detailing, especially when the coin is in higher grades. Around the portrait is a legend Queen Elizabeth II, which follows a circular rim. The portrait style is clean, smooth, and lightly stylized, meant to symbolize a modern monarchy. Since the Eastern Caribbean territories were still under British administration during this period, the Queen's portrait served as a unifying symbol of governance and monetary authority. Even today, the Machin portrait makes the coin instantly recognizable among Commonwealth numismatists. The reverse carries the official design of the British Caribbean Territories Eastern Group. At the top, the denomination is shown as 25 cents, and at the bottom appears the year 1965, while the central design features a wreath encircling two cross branches, commonly described as laurel and palm, representing victory, peace, and tropical Caribbean identity. Surrounding the entire design is a long inscription, British Caribbean Territories Eastern Group, which emphasizes a cooperative monetary union created after World War II. The reverse of this coin has a very distinctive style, clean lettering, generous spacing, and a classical wreath motif that resembles older British colonial coinage traditions but with a Caribbean character. This blend of European minting tradition with local regional symbolism gives the coin a unique cultural value. The coin is made of copper nickel, CuNi, giving it durability, a silvery appearance, and resistant to corrosion in humid island climates. The coin typically weighs around 5.83 grams, has a diameter of approximately 23.5 millimeters, and features a reeded, milled edge, adding security against clipping and enhancing its tactile feel. The hardness of CuNi ensured the coin could withstand heavy circulation in tropical conditions, as these coins pass through the hands of fishermen, farmers, merchants, street vendors, and travelers across multiple islands. Because they circulated in many territories, surviving examples often show varying levels of wear based on local usage patterns. Historically, the 1965 issue is important because it comes just before major political developments. Barbados was preparing to adopt its own currency and become independent, 1966, and other islands were pressing for self-governance. The BCCB system would eventually be replaced by the Eastern Caribbean Currency Authority, ECCA, in the late 1960s, which later led to the modern Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, and the Eastern Caribbean dollar use today. So, the 1965 25 cents coin is one of the last to carry the full spelling British Caribbean Territories Eastern Group, making it a closing chapter in a shared colonial monetary story. Because of this, the coin represents heritage, both British and Caribbean, and numismatists treat the 1965 year as a historically transitional issue. In terms of collectability, the 1965 25 cents is widely collected across Caribbean, British Commonwealth, and world coin communities. Most examples are common in circulated grades, since millions were produced, but high-grade UNC or proof-like examples become harder to find due to the climate and heavy use. Coins with sharp facial details on the Queen, full reef lines, and clear rims command premium value. While most 1965 coins were minted at the Royal Mint in London, some specialists study subtle strike differences, die variations, and rim anomalies that occasionally occur. Though not rare in general circulation condition, it becomes an important historical piece in any collection related to colonial currency systems and early Caribbean monetary unions. Economically, the 25 cents piece played a major role in daily commerce. Equivalent to $0.25, it was widely used for bus fares, small groceries, local produce, drinks, fishing equipment, and market transactions. For many island communities, these coins were part of everyday life, passing from hand to hand for goods and services long before independent national currencies emerged. Because of this everyday significance, older Caribbean residents often recall these coins with nostalgia. The 1965 issue specifically represents memories of the pre-independence era, when multiple islands shared not only currency but political and economic ties. Overall, the 1965 British Caribbean Territories Eastern Group 25 cents is more than just a coin. It carries the image of a young Queen Elizabeth II, the symbol of a transitional era, the identity of several Caribbean islands at once, and the legacy of the first successful Caribbean monetary union. Its design, material, circulation story, and historical timing make it a deeply meaningful numismatic artifact. Whether kept as part of colonial coin collection, a British Commonwealth set, or a Caribbean historical series, it remains a coin that preserves a memory of a region's journey from shared colonial governance to independent national identity, all while maintaining a unified economic structure that continues to influence the Caribbean today. The 1980 Australian 20-cent coin featuring Queen Elizabeth II represents an important moment in the continuing evolution of Australia's decimal coinage system, which had been introduced only 14 years earlier in 1966. By 1980, the decimal system had fully replaced the older pounds, shillings, pence structure, and the 20-cent coin had established itself as one of the most essential denominations in daily commerce across Australia. This coin circulated through millions of hands in the early 1980s, an era marked by economic reform, rising modern Australian identity, and shifts in political culture. The 1980 issue carries the classic platypus reverse and the widely recognized portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, merging symbols of Australia's natural distinctiveness with its constitutional and Commonwealth heritage. The obverse of the 1980 20-cent coin features the well-known Arnold Machin portrait of Queen Elizabeth II, which was used on Australian coins from 1966 to 1984. This effigy shows the Queen facing right, adorned with a Girls of Great Britain and Ireland tiara, her hair neatly styled in flowing curls. The Machin portrait is appreciated for its smooth contours, sharp detail, and elegant simplicity, reflecting a modern portrayal of monarchy during the mid-20th century. Surrounding the portrait is the inscription Elizabeth II Australian 1980, which affirms the coin's national origin and the Queen's role as Australia's constitutional monarch. At the time, this effigy symbolized stability and continuity, and it became one of the most recognized images in Australian daily life. The portrait also represents a queen in the peak years of her reign, during a period when Australia was increasingly defining its identity while still maintaining formal ties with the Crown. The reverse of the 1980 Australian 20-cent coin continues the iconic design created by Stuart Devlin, the master artist responsible for most of Australia's decimal coin designs. This reverse features a platypus, an extraordinary animal found only in Australia, and one of the most unique mammals on Earth. The platypus is shown swimming through stylized, flowing water currents, giving the design a sense of motion and elegance. The large, bold numeral 20 dominates the upper portion of the coin, providing clear denomination recognition even after heavy circulation. Devlin's artistic approach combined natural realism with dynamic line work, making the 20-cent piece visually striking and instantly associated with Australia's natural heritage. This design has remained unchanged for decades due to its popularity and symbolic strength, representing both the uniqueness of Australia's fauna and the creative excellence of the Royal Australian Mint's early designers. The specifications of the 1980 20-cent coin remain consistent with earlier issues. It is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel, has a mass of 11.30 grams, a diameter of 28.52 millimeters, and features a milled edge. The copper-nickel composition gives it durability, a soft silver-like appearance, and high resistance to corrosion, particularly important in Australia's diverse climate ranging from humid tropics to dry deserts and coastal environments. Because of its larger size and heavier weight compared to many other decimal denominations, the 20-cent coin became a distinct and easily recognizable part of Australian pocket change. The metal alloy also allows the coins to maintain structural integrity over decades, though they are still prone to scratches, bag marks, and circulation wear, which can significantly reduce their grade for collectors. The historical context surrounding the year 1980 adds depth to the numismatic significance of this coin. Australia in the late 1970s and early 1980s was undergoing transformations in industry, immigration, popular culture, and international identity. Economic challenges, shifting global alliances, and the rise of new political voices shaped daily life. Decimal coins such as a 20-cent piece played a central role in everyday transactions, whether used for bus fares, petrol payments, milk bars, newspapers, school canteens, or public telephones. The 20-cent coin was one of the most frequently exchanged denominations in circulation, making the 1980 issue a widely recognized and well-worn piece of Australian monetary history. Because millions were minted, most examples show moderate to heavy circulation wear, while high-grade uncirculated examples remain more sought after by numismatists. From a collector's perspective, the 1980 20-cent coin is generally classified as a common issue in circulated condition, but certain characteristics make it interesting for collection. Coin experts often study die varieties, strike strength, rim condition, and surface finish. High-quality uncirculated coins from mint sets or coins that were carefully preserved since 1980 hold greater value and appeal. Collectors look for sharp definition on the Queen's portrait, clear lines on the platypus's body and water currents, and strong mint luster on the fields. Though not considered rare, the 1980 issue carries historical importance as part of the second decade of Australia's decimal currency, a system that reshaped national coinage and simplified financial operations across the country. The cultural significance of the 20-cent coin during this time cannot be understated. It became woven into daily routines and memories, tossed into payphones, saved for school canteen lunches, used to buy ice cream, taken on bus ride to work, or dropped into donation tins. Many Australians who grew up in the 1970s and 1980s remember the platypus 20-cent coin as a symbol of their childhood and early adulthood. The 1980 issue stands as a snapshot of that era, a small piece of metal that carries decades of personal, economic, and national history. Coins like this remind us not only of monetary value, but also of the stories and experiences they witness as they circulate through a nation.